Welcome to Face the State. I'm Arianna Bennett. Thank you for joining us. A lot of veterans travel to Reno from the rural areas to get medical care at the VA, and if they need longer-term care, for many years they've had a free place to call home while they're here. Sylvia Froslie with the Veterans Guest House is here with me to talk about that. Sylvia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you back. The Veterans Guest House is one of my favorites. It is such a special place and something that I know for a long time was unique that we only have here. Has it expanded at all, or are we still the only one?
We are the only one. So you'll hear about Fisher houses, which are a little bit different model and don't offer the same extent of services that we do. So we are the one and only Veterans Guest House, and we're providing free lodging, not just for veterans that are getting care at the VA, but getting care in the area.
That's awesome. So I know that you've expanded your services and your space so much since you started in the 90s. Can you kind of walk me through that process?
Sure. So we began because veteran families were sleeping in their cars because they couldn't afford a motel room, so veterans could get care. And we were founded by two veteran volunteers over at the VA and said, we can do better, our veterans deserve better. And we started as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and now we're a 33-bed facility, and we're serving about 9,000 veterans a year, or guest nights anyway.
Wow. That's a ton of people.
It is.
It's kind of a field of dreams situation. When you built it, they came.
Yeah, well, it's funny because even with the expansion, the expectation is it would take us 10 years to fill. We're in about half that time, and during that time, we've identified other barriers to care, and that's really what we're about, right? Access to care for veterans and their families. So in the way of transportation, we know at least 30% of veterans are missing appointments because they don't have transportation. The way we solve for that is, for one, we provide transportation to and from medical appointments here in town. We also help subsidize if people are coming from the surrounding areas, along with enlisting our army of volunteers to also help. So sometimes that's Friday afternoon and there's a veteran in Winnemucca that needs to be here by Saturday morning. We will make it happen.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. And then everything you do is completely free of charge.
Yes, and that's because we're supported by this community. So we are 100% philanthropically supported. We take no government funding or anything like that. And right now that's especially important because it means the continuity of the services we're able to provide stays solid. And so that's overnight lodging, transportation, meals, and we also have a dedicated personal care assistant on staff. Because the other thing that we know is about 30% of our veterans here in northern Nevada live alone, about 25% nationwide. And without somebody to care for them, they can't get any procedure requiring anesthesia. With our personal care assistant program, they can. And it's really changed lives in a remarkable way.
Oh my gosh, I never thought about that. If you live in a place where you don't have people, or you don't have people at all, you just can't have surgeries?
That's right. If you have no one to look after you, there is no solution. And it's very different. We both live in town, and I say, well, can you come pick me up? Is very different if my network is in Austin, Nevada, because now it's a whole day-long trek and people taking off of work and being able to be here, and what if something doesn't go right? It gets very complicated. So we have helped solve for that through philanthropy in the community.
That is really amazing. I never really thought about that piece of this, but I imagine a lot of people would forego needed medical procedures because they just didn't have a ride or didn't have a person to care for them after.
Exactly. In fact, the day we opened the program, we had 3 calls. We didn't even announce it to anyone because word spread that fast about the service that we were offering. And we've been busy ever since. So it started as a part-time position. Now we actually have a full-time and a part-time person to cover for 12 hours each day.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What do you hear from the veterans? I just have to imagine it's immense gratitude.
Yes, and it's crazy because we'll have people come in and they'll see the facility, and even these stoic men, you can tell, are on the brink of tears because they're so moved on what we're able to provide. And it is all free of charge. And it's not just for the veteran or the caregiver, it's for the veteran and their family. And we had a veteran who, him and his wife had stayed with us for probably 15 years, and we had heard he was sleeping in his car. And as it turns out, his wife was getting cancer treatment, and he didn't think that they qualified, and he couldn't leave her side. And there he was in the parking lot at Renown, and we said, no, 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 we're here forever. Make us tell you no, because we will do everything we can to find a way to say yes.
That's amazing. Gosh, what an incredible gap-filling resource. I love stories like this because, you know, these gaps that you don't think about until you work in an industry, or you know, maybe hear a story and you're like, it never occurred to me that there was a need for that. And I just love when someone steps up and fills it. Speaking of stepping up and filling gaps, you are working on filling a new one. So you've acquired a new property and you are turning it into a hospice home.
Yes, so completely separate property. And you know, we've been around for 30 years, and part of what's happening is the veterans that started coming to us 30 years ago are in a different state of their life. And unfortunately, what that means is for some of them, it's end of life. And so while there isn't medical services provided in a lot of the communities they call home, what that also means is they're outside the service areas for hospice. And so it seems like the obvious answer would be, well, move to Reno. Except there's no space in Reno. And even if there is, it's prohibitively expensive. And so there's really 3 choices. Die at home without the comfort care you need. Go down to Fallon, the closest facility that will take you. Or die in a hospital, generally acute care, because there's less beds than what we need for the area we have. So we, through philanthropy, have purchased a home, and it is furnished, and we are ready to open the doors just like we do at the guest house. So this is just an extension of the same services we already provide. So we're not a service provider. We provide all of the services that get you the access to the care that you need.
Okay.
And go ahead. Sorry.
So I was just going to say, so then when they're, you know, discharged from the VA or diagnosed, or, you know, they've reached their end of life and it's time to enter hospice, how does that process work?
So we are working directly with the VA to begin with, and eventually we will take referrals from area hospice providers. We have worked hand in hand with the VA for a long time, so that's the place that we're starting. From there, it's less than 90 days, no longer able to care for yourself, and having that referral, and we'll take you. Of course, being a veteran. We're starting with veterans because it's a pilot program. We want to learn what we can, and that's who we know best. But in the ideal, once we have proof that we know that this model works, we'll expand to also include families, as we always have.
Okay. So then, if this is all philanthropy based, do you have the money to staff this with like hospice professionals? Because I imagine you need people who know what to do.
Great question. So there's 2 different things that are happening. So look at the guest house, whether it's at the guest house or the hospice house. We are an extension of family. We are not medical providers. So each veteran, just like they do at the guest house, will be able to choose their hospice provider. For those who haven't gone through it, there's this misnomer that hospice comes in every day and that they're there to provide care 24 hours, and they don't. But through volunteerism, paid professional caregivers, and also families will be able to provide that care, private bedrooms, and the support that they need.
Okay, so you aren't staffing it necessarily. They bring in whatever they choose.
We'll have staff. So we'll have a combination of paid staff, paid caregivers that are there 24 hours, along with volunteers to kind of supplement that. So there's always a presence. No one's ever alone. And if there's a need, we can fill it immediately.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house too, in a really nice area with a beautiful view.
Yes, and so one thing that was really important to us was that it was comfortable, that it really provided a place that felt peaceful, not only for our veterans, but for their family members as well. So we're really excited to be able to do something that we know is needed in this community, and we'll learn together on what we can do more, just like we did with lodging for guests in the beginning, and then extending to transportation, PCA, and whatever comes next. It'll be the same with Hospice House.
Okay, and so getting set to open that very soon. Great needed resource in our community. Are you still fundraising? What kind of help do you need from the community?
Well, we're always fundraising because, again, we rely on community support to keep our programs free. Beyond fundraising, we are also always looking for volunteers. So the total number of volunteers actually outnumber the total number of paid staff, which means that giving directly supports veterans. And it also means that we're always looking for support to come in and fill a role. And it's everything from companionship with our veterans, bed making, even if you want to come answer the door because it rings all day long. So there's a way for everyone to get involved, and that includes group projects one time or people that maybe are retired, and especially during the summer we see a lot of our school-age kids that can do yard cleanups and all kinds of different things. We'll put them to work.
Lots of ways to help. Very cool. Okay, now finally, I know we've reported on this several times, but the VA hospital is planning on relocating, building a bigger facility right next to the UNR campus. Part of what you do works because you're right across the street. You know, this big residential facility that you've built is right across the street from the VA. Once it moves, what do you do?
We will continue to do what we do best, which is number one, being where veterans need us, and number two, filling in the gaps wherever they are. So because we have transportation already as a program, even in the immediate, if we weren't directly across the street, we can still provide that care. But obviously it would require a satellite campus. We're already at our full capacity or occupancy at the guest house. So it's just a matter of time before we need to expand anyway. And so I trust that it will all work out just as it should for our veterans.
So do you see the likelihood of needing to purchase a new building near the UNR campus site?
More than likely, yeah, just because it's more convenient. And the beautiful thing, as I said, is we serve everyone. It doesn't matter who their care provider is. So even the house that we're in right now would likely remain for those who are seeking care at Renown. We have a partnership that allows us to conveniently serve those who are going to St. Mary's as needed. So if the VA moves, don't worry, we'll find them.
Okay, Sylvia, any final message before we go to break?
We are so grateful for the community and what they're able to provide to our veterans. We couldn't do it without them, and we just are honored to be able to offer a brand new service that we know is needed.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, coming up on Face the State, a local organization is expanding to help more people as well. But the reason they need to expand isn't great for Nevada. I'll sit down with the Domestic Violence Resource Center right after the break.